Hi everyone, and welcome to this Video Song Frontier video. Now today I'm going to be looking at an Acer laptop. This Acer laptop. This machine is a Travelmate. It's a 507DX. And for reasons that I'll get into later, I do believe that this machine was originally made up for the home market. Now, the reason I think this is because it uses cheaper parts than some of the other Travelmate models. For example, it features a Celeron processor, 12.1-inch passive matrix display, and there's no docking station parts or anything, no infrared, but there is a built-in dial-up modem. Also, there are only drivers available for Windows 98 2nd edition for this machine. So, the fact that there's no official support for something like Windows NT 4 would kind of lead me to believe that this machine's not necessarily meant as some sort of a business machine. It's kind of more meant as, you know, some sort of home use computer. Anyway, before I do anything, let's get it on the rotating table and we'll have a wee look at the parts. So, on the front of the laptop, we see the stereo speakers, headphone, microphone and line-in ports. On the right of the machine, you have the floppy drive. Underneath that, there's a CD-ROM drive, and then there's a wee vent. Then you've got two PC card slots and a dial-up modem. Now, I like having both the floppy and CD-ROM drives on the laptop's chassis, but I will come to that a wee bit later. On the back of the laptop, we have an AC power supply, one USB 1.0 or 1.1 port, I don't know which it is, a PS2 mouse and keyboard port, a VGA port, IEEE 1284 parallel printer port, a blank space where I think a docking station connector would be on a more expensive laptop. Again, I will come to that a wee bit later. And then finally, we have an RS-232 serial port. Finally, on the left-hand side of the machine, there is a Kensington lock slot, a power switch, a cooling fan, and the battery compartment. And finally, on the inside, you see that the screen has got quite a large bezel around it, which would suggest that you could actually have specified a larger screen on more expensive models of this machine. There is also a keyboard and a mousepad, as well as the Intel Celeron and Design for Windows 98 stickers. Now, when I got this machine, the keys had all stickers on with Cyrillic characters, which could suggest that it was used with the Cyrillic keyboard layout. However, these stickers were actually getting in the way of me trying to type, and I couldn't feel the keyboard properly, so I actually removed each sticker. It wasn't actually as hard as you might have thought it was. The stickers came off quite easily, leaving very little residue. Okay, let's go now and turn the machine on. Oh, but before I continue with this machine, I would like to apologise. I incorrectly said in my last video about the Packard Bell Legend 406 CD that Duke Nukem 3D was written by ID Software, the creators of Wolfenstein 3D and the Doom series. Actually, it turns out I was wrong. Duke Nukem was in fact developed by 3D Realms, so I'm very sorry for giving out false or misleading information on my videos. Thank you very much. Now, let's switch on this Acer. Okay, so that's the machine kind of looked at. So, I guess the best thing I can do now is to switch it on. I'll do so by flicking the power switch. Now this machine does seem to have a wee problem sometimes in that the screen will go blank and that you'll have to kind of reset it a couple of times. Now when I got this machine, it came to me with the hard disk blanked, and that's perfectly fine because, you know, I would have just installed my own operating system anyway, and that's exactly what I've done. I've put Windows 98 2nd edition on and set it up with the usual array of, you know, wee knickknacks that I like to go for. Also, another thing about this machine, the speakers don't necessarily seem to have that much clarity to them. So you can kind of definitely tell that this machine has been made to a budget. But to be honest, I don't think in this case it's a bad thing. The machine has kind of been made, well, it's not that they've cut back on the materials used to build this thing. I mean, this thing feels pure solid, just like, you know, pretty much every 90s Acer that I've had the good fortune to, you know, ever use. What has happened here is this machine has got lower specs than, you know, maybe some of its more expensive rivals have got. So instead of going for an active matrix display, you know, which would add cost to the machine, which means they would have to cut back in other areas, cut back in quality, they've opted for a passive matrix display. And the speakers, like I said, you know, they don't have much top-end clarity, but so what? You know, if that bothers you that much, you know, plug in a pair of speakers. Not many laptops of the day had good speakers. You know, I mean, unless you were willing to shell out for a Compaq Armada with the JBL sound system in. But, you know, if you were in the market for a laptop like this, you know, I highly doubt that you'd have been able to afford an Armada E500 or M700 or, you know, anything. You know, 1750 I think would have been, you know, something that might have been around then. However, talking about the passive matrix displays, I've got to say, this is one of the better ones I've actually used. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. What we're going to do is do the Wolfenstein test. Now, yes, you can see there's definitely ghosting, you know, as I kind of run up and down the start menu. You know, one of my favourite games with the school's Acer Extensa 355 was, can I paint the programs menu blue? It's easier to do it like this. See, I'm kind of painting it blue. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into Wolfenstein. Now, my good friend Billy and I, we actually call these Seasick screens or nausea screens. And the reason we call it this is because I was playing Wolfenstein 3D on my Dell Latitude XP 4/75C. No, it's a 475C. But yeah, I was playing Wolfenstein 3D on that, and that does have a passive matrix display. And to be honest, after a few minutes, I actually felt quite ill. Whereas on this display, yes, you're going to have the ghosting, and oh my goodness, that's a wee bit loud, is it? Speakers have suddenly got some clarity. What's all that about? Could be the wrong sound drivers. Actually, I'm starting to suspect that's what it could be. But to be honest, compared to other passive matrix displays, this is not too bad. I mean, I'm not going to recommend that you. Whoops. I'm not, for the life of me, even going to try and recommend, do you know what, I'm going to restart this, that, you know, if you want to play MS-DOS games, that you immediately rush out with your credit card and make the purchase of an Acer Travelmate 507DX, which this machine is. However, you know, if you have one, you know, and you do want, and let's say you did use one, for example, and a lot of people do still use machines like this. You know, I had a customer who came to me with a Toshiba Tecra 800, Toshiba Tecra 800 running Windows 98 on a Pentium 300. You know, let's imagine, for example, you had one of these that you still used, and you wanted the occasional game. This display would be adequate for it. You know, you probably might, you know, it is definitely going to be better if you have an active matrix display. Or some game bus would even tell you, forget the whole flat screen ballpark altogether, go and get yourself a CRT monitor. But, you know, as passive matrix displays go, I think the point that I'm trying to make here is this has got to be one of the best that I have ever used. You know, actually better than the one on my Toshiba Satellite 2140 CDS. I mean, that screen was pure shocking. And to be honest, you know, Toshiba should be really good at passive matrix displays, because in the late 90s they kept speccing their machines up with passive matrix displays. I mean, it wasn't even funny. But what Toshiba actually said was, it's actually for security. See, nobody can see what you're doing. And I'll demonstrate that now. You can see, as I move this machine around, the screen, you know, practically becomes unintelligible. It looks a lot better on the camera than it does in real life. I mean, as I look in the same direction as the camera, I can barely see what's on the screen. I can just about, you know, make out that I'm playing Wolf there, you know, and I can make out, if I had good enough sight anyway, I'd be able to make out what health I had. It's a number. I think I can see I've got 45 ammos. But I mean, that is one of the good things about passive matrix displays, is that the viewing angles are so fantastically poor. Again, this one has better viewing angles than most. But, yeah, the viewing angles are so fantastically poor, generally speaking, that you basically don't have to worry about folk looking over your shoulder. So, Toshiba may actually have a point. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the other things I have on this. But before I do that, let me talk about the specs of this machine. I did actually say at the start of this video that it had an Intel Celeron processor. This Intel Celeron processor runs at 466 MHz, which is actually one of the faster Celerons. Actually one of the faster 90s Celeron machines I have. However, the RAM, well, it's only got 32 megs. Which is another thing that kind of tells me that this is more kind of a home user computer. I've got to be honest though, it doesn't run too bad. Considering, you know, 450 megahertz and plus Pentiums usually came with 128 megs of RAM on the board. You know, and even my two 233s, you know, even my earlier Pentium 2s, ThinkPad 390, what's the other one I have? The Dell Latitude CPI D266 XT. They both have 64 megs of RAM. But I mean, I've installed a slew of home use applications on here. I think you can guess. Microsoft Works Suite 99. Let's load that up now. This is me loading up Works. And there we go. Cold booted Works. You know, not had this open before. You've just seen me switch on the machine. You know, and it's not too bad. Okay, I have no default printer installed. Will you leave it? Will you leave me alone? Then there's Microsoft Picture Express. Again, probably wouldn't recommend using a passive matrix display. for this sort of thing because all the colours will be washed out. Again, another thing that this display is better at than most passive matrix displays is colour reproduction, but it's still, at the end of the day, compared to an active matrix, it's crap. Oh, that's my phone. Note to self, always try and have my business line handy. Usually means I can get in touch with customers quicker, or they can get in touch with me quicker, rather, which is really what I want. Yep. Although, to be honest, since registering, I've had more people calling to sell me stuff rather than people calling to buy my services, and I find that somewhat annoying. You know, if I want to buy something, I'll let them know. I'll go to them. I don't want them coming to me, you know, and then making me feel awful when I can't afford it. That's just full of crap, that is. And I'm sorry, but how is someone with a Liverpudlian accent working with all the schools in Aberdeen about the anti-bullying policy? And like, what? I'm sorry. She was quite friendly. You know, a lot friendlier than some businesses I've spoke to. Working on, you know, especially those, oh, we're working on behalf with Google. Well, to be honest, I've went through Google myself. You can. Pure dafties. Right, enough. So, yes, as I was saying, you know, I wouldn't use, I mean, yeah, I guess you could use it, you know, for amateur kind of, oh my goodness, I've forgotten what I'm saying. I guess you could use it, you know, for amateur kind of greeting card creation on this machine. You know, but if you're looking to do anything a wee bit more professional, you'd hook a CRT display up to it. It's also money 99. I've not set up a file. Let's agree with the licensing agreement. I tell you, the interface, you know, from 99 to 2002 didn't really change that much. I mean, it kind of looks like Money 2002, but with darker colours. I kind of like it. You know, a lot of people do like, you know, I used to use Money 2007 back in the day to, you know, organise my finances. Always pretty good to have. You know, it could show me projections of things. But yeah. And like I said, the interface doesn't really change much from version to version. You know, so if you upgraded from this to a newer PC with WorkSuite 2002 or something, you'd be right at home. Something I do like about this machine that I think I've mentioned before is I do like how the CD-ROM drive and the floppy disk drive are actually both in the chassis itself. It makes installation of certain operating systems easier, even though the only supported one that's supported officially is Windows 98 2nd Edition. Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about this wee machine. I mean, I had wanted to buy it as a Windows NT 4 box, but I mean, I probably could find the drivers for it, and you know, I think I am going to have a go at doing that. Oh yeah, that's a battery. I probably shouldn't have pulled that out. Wow, a bit of a design flaw in Acer's part. It crashes if the battery's pulled. That's not the best, is it? But I mean, I did want to buy this as a Windows NT box, but I didn't think that was to be. Bit of a shame, really. But hey, you know, maybe I will find the drivers. I mean, these are all pretty standard drivers. It uses a Magigraph 128 XD graphics chipset. In fact, while I'm at it, let's just have a look at you know, kind of what video memory is on board here. This is 800 by 600 display. Again, you know, no expenses spared. Oh, and it's not telling me. That's nice of it, is it? It's not actually telling me what, you know, kind of video memory or anything's installed. Apparently I can stream it to a television, but to be honest, I don't think I've seen a port on this thing that will accept output to a TV. Oh well, like I said, this has been a wee look at the Acer Travelmate 507DX. I do like it. Just like all Acers, it's pretty well built. You know, and I think, you know, a lot of respect where respect is due. You know, Acer have done a pretty good job with this. So, this is the end of my video. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe. Instructions on how to do so will follow. And while you're at my channel, please, if you've not seen my previous video, please do that as well. But please also join me again for my next video. Thank you for watching, and see you all again.